Hi everyone, how's it going? Uh, Jordan here again, and just doing another AZ104 practice test. I've got my exam coming up, so I just want to see how well I do because I haven't done it yet. So I'll just nip into it. Um, I don't know, I'll pick a random one. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. I don't know. Seven. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with that one. Okay. Again, we're aiming above 80%. So let's see what happens. Okay. Let me zoom in a bit. So you have an Azure subscription. You need to deploy a virtual machine by using ARM by using an ARM template. Okay, so what is the question? Which value should you use for placeholder 1 reference, resource, celled, or union? Schemas, virtual machines, depends on network interfaces. Well, it's not union. It's got to be this one. It's our cell. So placeholder 2. Okay, let's have a look. Properties. So storage. Soft no. Properties. Storage profile. I'm guessing that's an image of some kind. I'm saying image reference. Okay, so you plan to deploy an Azure container instance by using this template. Okay, what's the question? Internet users. We don't even have to look at that. Or do we? Let's see answers. Can connect from any device. Yeah, if you're using port 80, TCP, type is public. I'm gonna say anybody can from any. Oh yeah, from any device. Yeah, of course you can. If the internet information services in the container fails, yeah, if it fails, then it's going to restart automatically. Yeah, so you don't have to do it yourself, and you definitely don't have to redeploy it. It's got to be that one. 5. Right. So you've got the subscription. You create an alert role. The alert one action group is configured like this. Okay, so you got email receivers, email action. What's the question? The number of email messages that alert one will send in an hour. Okay, so you got action one, email action, and I know they send them one every minute email messages, so that's 60. and then SMS messages, it's there. So that's one every 5 minutes. So 60 divided by 5 is 12. So it's got to be 12. Um, okay, let's look at the question first. Which resources can be backed up to Vault 1? Resources can be backed up to Vault 1. So that's in Central US. Recovery Services Vault. Central US RG1. So that's got to be VM1 only. Yes, the resource group is RG2, but then that filters down, so it's got to be VM1. Which resources can be backed up to Vault 2? Okay, West US, Vault 2, West US, RG2. Um, West US is an R resource group. So, which is connected to storage 1. I'm going to say share 1. I think that's it. Blob container. Oh yeah, file share is associated. Yeah, file share. Share 1. Yeah. So you got the Microsoft Enter tenant, and you got contains the users shown here. Admin 1, user 1. You need to perform the following tasks. Sorry. Create an attribute property, attribute name property 1. Ensure that admin 1 can assign property 1 to user 1. Which two settings should you configure on the Microsoft Entra IT Blade? ID Blade, sorry. Okay, so Entra ID security, so it's got to be security attributes. Um, so ensure that admin 1 can assign property 1 to user 1, so that you have to be an administrator. Okay, so it's got to be those two. So you plan to create the storage account in the exhibit tab. Let's have a look. Hold on, let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, sorry, that's as far as I can zoom in. Subscription 1, RG1, storage V2, performance standard. Your access tier is hot. Okay, private endpoint. Okay. Sorry, let's see the question. The number of copies of storage account will be, well, the storage is the minimum. Yeah, it's 3. Um, so to reduce the cost of infrequently accessed data in the storage account, you must modify. So depending on how much you access your data, you've got hot, cool, cold, uh, archive. So you have to change the access tier. Okay. So So you need to create an Azure storage account that meets the following requirements. Supports hot, cool, cold, and archive tiers. Okay, provides fault tolerance if disaster affects the Azure region where the account resides and minimizes costs. Okay, so that's got to be a standard or storage v2. It's got to be a storage v2. And yeah, standard global redundant storage. I would say that. Yeah. So you've got these resources. To which resources can you associate RT1? So that's in the East US. Um, okay, that's got to be subnet 1 only because RT1 is associated with subnets. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's look at the other options. Yeah, it's not. I know they're associated. Subnets are associated with RT1. Okay. So you plan to deploy a container. You need to recommend which services can scale the container automatically. Um, can scale the container automatically. Uh, Container instances. I'm going to say container apps or Azure App Service only because this one, because container instances or Azure App Service only, that's Windows. This one, container apps, Azure Container Instances or Azure Apps can only be used with Linux. So, yeah, I'm going to say that one. Okay, so you got two virtual machines, VM1 and VM2. The effective network security configurations for VM2 are shown here. Okay. Okay, so we've got allow. You discover that the connections to app 1 from this address over port 443 fail. You verify that the load balancer rules are configured correctly. You need to ensure that connections can be established successfully from this address. So you modify the priority of the allow. I'm not going to read out the numbers. Inbound security rule. Does this meet the goal? Yes or no? So this address is the same. It's already allowed. Port 443. Source is the same. Yeah, so it's a no because it's already there. Okay, same scenario. You create an inbound security rule that denies all traffic from this source and has a priority of 64999. You create an inbound security 6499. Okay, I'm going to say no for that one because it's below 6,000 or 65,000. Um, so no, because this one's or sorry, this one's denied. So yeah, and plus it's yeah, you can only allow it after 65,000. So no. Okay, again, same scenario. You delete the block all other 443 inbound security rule, which is that. I would say yes for that one because it's in deny. Again, same scenario. You create it an inbound security rule that allows any traffic from the load balancer source and has a priority of 150. Priority of 150. Ooh. It allows any traffic. Um, I'm going to say no for that one because it's between 100 and 200. Oh no, that's no. Actually, sorry, I'm being silly. Yes, I think no, that's a yes because it's only blocked at 200 priority, so that's a yes. So you need to create a container instance, and you need to ensure that specific configuration parameters are applied to container one during the container setup. Provides secure values to container 1 during the container startup. What should you configure for container 1? Now, it's not a command override. Specific configuration parameters. It's not tags. It's definitely not keys. It's got to be this one. Environment variables. It's got to be that. Okay, so we've got 4 VMs. Recovery Service Vault that protects VM1 and VM2 in West Europe. You need to protect VM3 and VM4 in North Europe using recovery services. What should you do first? So we don't have a recovery services vault for VM3 and VM4, so create a recovery services vault. Okay, so you have device 1 on Windows 10, device 2 on Linux, device 3 on Mac. So what can you use AZ copy to copy data to storage 1? It's all of them. You can use all of these. From which devices? Yeah, you can use all. It supports all of them. Operating systems. So you plan to migrate 50 virtual machines from VMware vSphere to subscription. You create a recovery services vault. What should you do next? Okay, so you plan to. So it hasn't been done yet. Okay, you've just created the vault. So you'll need a virtual network for it to work. Okay, so we've got RG1. You plan to create a storage account. Name storage1. You have a bicep file named file1. You need to modify the file so it can be used to automate the deployment of storage1 to RG1. Which property should you modify? Okay, so we're talking files, bicep, um, can be used to automate the deployment of storage1 to RG1. It's not necessarily location. I don't think it's SKU. It's definitely not kind. It's got to be scope. Yeah, I would say that. Oh, oh, I hate these questions. Um, so what's the question here? Which path should UNC path should you include in a script that references files from the data share file? So we've got the storage account is that I always call it Costco, but Costco storage, and then you create a file share. So that's got to be in here somewhere. Okay, so we've got. Hold on, let me zoom out a little bit. Um, so we've got three things to pick. Um, do we want file core? Yeah, we want a file. So I think it's got to be. No. Oh, this is a tricky one. Or is it blob core? Yeah, okay, so storage. Oh, I'm gonna go for this one. Data file core.windows.net. No, 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 no. I'm wrong. I think it's I think it's blob. Or no, hold on. Actually, I think it's the first one. File, core, Windows, and then data. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the first one. See, that's always a dangerous thing. I might have been right by my second one. I'm not too sure about this one. Okay, so uh, we've got two VNets. So each virtual network has 50 connected virtual machines. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at Azure Bastion. So you need to configure the Bastion. What public IP should you use? It's always going to be standard. Yeah, I go with that. What do we need to do here? Minimize the number of addresses on the subnet. Well, that's got to be 26 then, because that's less than. Well, I know it's 26 is or more than 24, but it is less, if you know what I mean. Um, so you plan to use AZ copy to copy a blob from container 1 to share 1. You need to identify which authentication method to use when you use AZ copy. Which authentication method would you use for storage 1? Okay, so storage 1, blob container that has a public access level of no public access. Okay, so then that's a shared access signature token, so that then you can access it. You have to be given that token to access it because it has no public access. Again, same scenario. Which authentication method would you use for storage 2? So that's a file share named share 1. I'm going to say the same answer. It's still got to be the SAS token. Oh, hold on. Yeah, sorry. Still, as far as I can zoom in. Apologies. Okay, so we're in a storage account. Okay, you create a blob lifecycle rule. You need to configure rule 1 to automatically move blobs that were not updated for 45 days from container 1 to the cool access tier. Okay. After 45 days. That were not updated for 45 days. So that means modified. So that's got to be this one. Days after modification greater than. And this one, blob types. Yeah, it's block blob. Right. Where are we here? Okay, you plan to use a template to deploy 50 virtual machines that will be part of the same availability set. You need to ensure that as many virtual machines as possible are available if the fabric fails or during servicing. Okay, so you need to configure the template. Okay, so where are we here? East US. Okay, we've got our template plot. Oh, platform fault domain count. Platform fault domain count. The fault domain count, I think it's three. So you need to choose. Sorry, platform update domain count. They're all set at zero. So what's it you choose? I'm pretty sure that's 20. Okay, so you manage a virtual network. So you've got VNet 1 in West US. VNet 1 has VM1 and VM2 that run Windows. You need to inspect all the traffic from VM1 to VM2 for 3 hours. From Azure Monitor, you create a metric. So you need to inspect all the network traffic. So using Azure Monitor, does this meet the goal? No, because Azure Monitor is more due pricing. Network Watcher, same scenario, you create a connection monitor. Again, no, it's got nothing to do with inspecting the traffic. Performance monitor, you create a data collector set. I would say no again for that one. I'm just thinking it's more like log analytics, that kind of thing. So we shall see, though. Logic app operator role. Oh, sorry. This is. You need to provide the developers group with an ability to create Azure Logic apps. No, that would be more like a contributor role, not an operator role. Subscription one, you assign the Dev Test Labs user role to developers group. Hmm. No, no, that's just the user. Yeah, okay. I would definitely say yes for this one. Contributor, yeah. You assign the Logic App Operator role. Logic App Operator. Based on my previous questions, I'm going to say no. Okay, for storage one, you create an encryption scope name scope one. Which storage types can you encrypt by using scope? It's not the last two. It's not the last three. Um, and it's not just file shares. It's either file shares and containers or no. It's either it's either containers only or file shares and containers only. Hmm. I'm going to go with my instinct and say containers only. Okay, so you have 8 virtual machines with the resources. Hold on, what's the question? What is the minimum number of service endpoints you should add to VNet 1? The minimum number of service endpoints, well, that's got to be 1. We need 1 service endpoint. So you've got a recovery service vault. You need to enable multi-user authorization for Vault 1. Which resource should you create first? Well, it's not admin. It's not admin. Recovery. Multi-use authorize. So authorization. It could be between these two. It's not going to be managed identity. I'm going to say resource guard because it's not that. It's not this one. I'm going to say resource guard. Okay. Uh, so they're all public IP addresses. Okay, you plan to deploy an instance of Azure Firewall Premium. Which addresses can you use? Um, okay, well, it's gotta be. It's gotta be standard SKU. And it can't be IPv6. It's gotta be IPv4. So IP that's out. That's out. It's between these two. That's regional, global. I'm gonna say IP2 only. Global. Okay, you got subnet 1. So you create a user named admin1. To what can you add admin1 as co-administrator? Well, it's got to be sub 1 in the question. It's got to be sub 1. Oh, okay. Right, so you have your subscription, you got your management group. And in Cloud Shell, you need to create a virtual machine by using the ARM template. You need to complete the following command. Sorry, that's as much as I can zoom in. Template. What should you choose for drop down 1? It's master VM7. So it's got to be a group, I think. Yeah, it's got to be a group. Sure. Yeah, I would say group. So for the second one, then you have to give it a name. Yeah, I would say you have to give it a name. Yep. Or resource group name. Or group name management name. Did I say for the previous one? Group deployment. I'm going to say management group name. No. Uh, yeah, I'm going to go with management group. Group name management group. I'm going to go with that one. Okay, so we have this. What do we have? It is recommended you to have at least one skill in role to career. So when CPU percentage is greater than 70%, increase count by 1. Okay. What's the question actually? After CPU usage has reached 80% for 15 minutes, how many instances will be running? Oh yeah, where's that? Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Instance. Okay. So greater than 70%. What did that question say? 80% for 15 minutes. Okay. So that after 10 minutes, the increased count will be 1. But because it's over 70, it's now 85. So it's got for 15 minutes. So it's got to be 2. Okay. Once the first scale out instance is created, the minimum time before an additional instance is created. The minimum time before an additional instance is created. So that's your cooldown period. So it's 5 minutes. So you have to wait 5 minutes. Okay, so share 1, storage 1, user 1. You need to assign user 1 the storage file data SMB share contributor role. For share 1, what should you do first? Okay, you need to share the contributor role. So what's access control for share 1? Has to be. Okay, you've got a VM1 and a key vault. You need to configure the encryption for VM1. The solution must meet the following: store and use the encryption key, and maintain encryption. If VM1 is downloaded from Azure, encrypt both the operating system disk and the data disks. Okay, so disks. Well, it's not manage keys. It's already there. It's not encryption at host. It's not comfort. It's got to be Azure disk encryption. I think anyway. Let's see how we did. Well, not too bad. Alright, what did we get wrong? Or sorry. Let's have a look. It was a couple I wasn't sure on anyway. Actually, it was a few I wasn't sure on. But, so I'm just trying to find the wrong answers. Where are they? Correct. Oh, right, okay. Oh, it is. I was thinking that it is IP1 and IP2 regional global, both standard SKUs, global and static. Or sorry, ugh, regional and global. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, static IPv. IP1 and IP2 only is correct because Azure Firewall Premium requires a standard SKU static IPv4 public address. Both IP1 and IP2 meet these conditions. The tier regional or global does not prevent their use as long as the address is standard SKU static and IPv4. Okay. What was the other one? Oh. Oh yeah, because I was between these two. So it's resource group name. Right. Resource group name. Okay. In this scenario, resource group 1 is in the resource group listed in the table, so it must be provided using the resource group name parameter. Okay. Resource group name parameter. Okay. I'm not, yeah, I think that was it. I think the rest are correct. Okay, guys, so anyway, that's me. I shall let you get on. Thank you very much again, and best of luck, and hopefully I'll pass this myself. I'm taking it on Friday, so. Okay, guys, cheers. Bye bye.